Good morning everyone and welcome to Facebook Live with the Community Health team. I'm Alison. I'm a community health worker with the team and we're delivering a session today with Sarah Healy, and Sarah's from TCA and she's going to explain to us a bit about the kind of role that she does within our project and give us some information. And at any point you've got any questions or anything you want to ask of Sarah, please do just post them and Robin, our trusty cameraman behind there, will let us know what your questions are. So welcome Sarah, thanks for coming along today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay Sarah, can you tell me a bit about TCA? What is TCA and what kind of things you do?
Okay, TCA, or as some people will know it as Tayside Council on Alcohol. Okay, despite the name, we don't just work with people with substance misuse or alcohol issues. We do a wide range of things. Okay, we're based at three geographical locations, so Dundee, Angus and Perth. I'm based in the Dundee office and I work for the mentoring team.
Okay, well that's good to clear that up, because I think some people out there would maybe think with the title it was just alcohol, so you're covering lots of other issues that people may have.
Yes, there's loads of different projects that TCA run. There's firstly the counselling service, which is probably what people would be more aware of for TCA. So the counselling service supports people with alcohol issues, substance issues and gambling issues. They also do couples counselling, they do secondary counselling, so it may not be that you're the person that's directly affected by the substance misuse, it may be that you're the partner of that and you just need that support to kind of work through that yourself. So they do loads of things like that. We also have like young people's services, young people's mentoring services, kith and kin, which helps support carers, people that are looking after their grandchildren, etc., and they support them. We also have like the Safe Zone bus. I don't know if everybody's heard of the Safe Zone bus. That's a fantastic service that used to run 10 o'clock in the evening to 4 o'clock in the morning, supporting people whatever their needs was during the night, when the clubs were out, etc. But obviously with COVID, clubs are not running, so there's been a bit of a change there. So the Safe Zone bus is out more at tea time, so it goes out I think it's 6 o'clock till 8:30, and that's doing outreach work, supporting people in the community that are maybe not open to services but do need a bit of support. So that's great as well. And then myself, I work for the mentoring service. We have a mentoring team that works with male mentees, referred out from community justice. We've got for female mentees that again referred from community justice. And myself, I work with the Beyond Mentoring, which is moving on after working with services, and that's a voluntary service that we run.
Okay, so quite a lot of things going on at TCA. When someone gets referred to you, Sarah, what kind of things can you offer them if someone was to phone up? Do they have to have a referral from an agency, or can they self-refer?
They can, it depends on what service they're going into. So obviously if they're going in for the counselling service, they can self-refer in for that. For myself, the kids, they are referred in usually from an agency. The mentoring service on its own, they're referred out from community justice because they're on the statutory orders. From my point of view, I initially had the referrals was coming from just community justice, but we also get from ISMs, children and families as well. Really, if the community health team thought there was somebody that would benefit as well, they could get in touch as well. It's really about the person's needs with myself, and it's about if they're affected by offending behaviour or substance misuse, how will we help them move on?
Yeah. I was interested to hear you talk about the Safe Zone bus. Are you able to expand on that a little bit and tell people what the Safe Zone bus does and who is it aimed at and who is it helping?
The Safe Zone bus is aimed at anybody really in the community that is needing a bit of support. So there's what we're doing at the moment is there's professionals on the bus from different agencies. So if somebody's struggling to get a hold of during COVID, it was sometimes a bit of a struggle because they're only getting phone support, etc. So if they're struggling to get access to maybe their worker at ISMs, or if they don't have a worker at ISMs but they're struggling with their substance use and they're maybe needing a bit of support, they could come at the bus. It was out on a Monday night. I should have really checked this before. It was out on a Monday night up here, up in the hill town. And the Saturday night it was up at Farm Foods up in Lochee.
Oh, yeah.
So really it was just out in the community, giving that sort of presence for people to come and access support if they need it.
And ISMs, could you explain what ISMs is?
That's Integrated Substance Misuse Service. So that's people with substance issues. and they're being supported obviously by the substance services. They're the specialists. I wouldn't be able to elaborate too much on that. That's their remit. But I mean, they're going to go to if there's any issues with any of our clients that are needing that bit of support.
So there's lots of different facets to TCA, lots of different parts to it. So what's your main focus then, Sarah? What do you think that you do that, you know, maybe it's not happening with the rest of the team? You're specialising in something.
It happens with all our teams, but I'm the only Beyond Mental worker. So obviously the Beyond Mental project is a newer part to it. It's only been on the go for 3 years. And we actually started up after a listening group of the women had identified there was a gap after moving on from services. Sometimes they do so well, they make loads of progress in their own recovery. They're working with community justice and getting that amazing support from their community justice worker. But then they're coming up to the end of their order, they've done so well, and then suddenly it's like, well, we'll be closing you. So for the person that's working with them, they're like, oh my God, they've got anxiety. Well, you've helped me get here. What about keeping that going? So that's there, because a lot of the women were saying, you know, when we move on from community justice or we move on from services, what happens then? We won't have any support. We've cut off a lot of friends and associates and people that were in our life to help our recovery, and then suddenly we don't have our main support that's helped us to get through some of our toughest times. So that was a lot of anxiety, and in the listening group, this is what the women identified. Hence the reason Beyond Mental was set up, just to support people to kind of have that bit of extra support when they're moving on. We engage with some of the community activities, find groups, finds what they wanted to do with themselves, so they were less isolated. So from my point of view, a lot of the women that come to me, that anxiety level of a new worker, it's there, but because it's a voluntary thing, it does help them to kind of say, okay, I've got you, it's not so bad losing this main worker, and they set their own goals. So that's what we say, so what are your goals? And everybody's goals are different, it's an individual thing. Some people, it's just to get out in the community and meet new people, go to new groups, go to wee courses, learn things. Some it's to go back into education, volunteering, get a job. Whatever they're looking for, that's our job to support them. And it's a low level support, so it's what they need and what they want, rather than the fact they have to meet with a worker every week. So some people want to see every week for the first couple of weeks, some people want to see weekly, fortnightly, monthly, whatever works for them and whatever level of support they need.
Okay. You said earlier about obviously the restrictions we're living under now, and COVID-19's had a big impact on most organisations and projects trying to help people, and you're saying you would maybe support them go to groups and activities. What's out there now for people? Because obviously we've all had to change our way of working. Are you able to find things for people to do? Is it changed? Obviously it's changed a lot, but what are you referring people into now to support them?
It's been a lot tougher. It has been a lot tougher. Obviously initially we went to phone support only, and that sometimes isn't ideal, but it worked really, really well for some of our women, because even the fact that somebody was just checking in with them, and instead of maybe having an appointment once a week or once a fortnight, we were probably checking in every couple of days with them just to say, how are you doing, are you managing this? So that worked actually really quite well with some of our women. Groups wise, etc., we used to run a group every week in TCA, and we used to modify that to suit whatever the women wanted. So some weeks it was craft, some week it was you would go out and do an activity. Had to stop all that, so that was tough. Now we're managing to set more groups up again. Luckily through partnership working, we've got Street Soccer Scotland. They're putting on fantastic groups for us and kind of doing socially distanced groups. So we've managed to kind of work out what we can do. We run a Tuesday group, which is a fitness group, and that's really good. It's the women love it; they absolutely love it, and that's been running for 4 months. So we've kind of managed to take it through a lot of lockdown and the restrictions, but just tailor it to suit their needs. So we do socially distanced fitness, and it's like circuit and games, but all kind of spaced out and in a good outdoor space. We've also just set up a walking group on a Thursday. That only started last week. So I'm actually missing it today to come and speak to you guys.
Oh well, the walking group's lost is our game today, everyone. We've got Sarah here today, so that's great about the walking group, because that's something that the community health team's been really involved with over the God knows past how many, probably 17 years we've been doing, you know, short health walks. We've kind of changed it a little bit now. We're doing more targeted supported walks, but anyway, it's about you today, not about me.
No, not at all. It's about the women as well. Everybody's benefits. The great outdoors is great. And do you know what, the walking group last week was fantastic. It was so good. And it was just a nice relaxed walk. Again, it was socially distanced, so we're managing to space out in the great outdoors. And we were very lucky once the walk leaders from Street Soccer and Dundee Council. So they were fantastic. It was their group, they led it. I just went along and enjoyed the outdoors with the same as the women. And that's a mixed group, so it's not just for ourselves that'll be part of that. I think they're going to open it to like part of the community as well, and anybody that really needs it. So that was really good, and that leaves from the lunch on a Thursday. So if anybody's interested in that, they could certainly get in touch, and we could give them the details for that as well. So they would be more than welcome to join on that. I think we've got a wee limit on of 18 at the moment. But what we could do, and I've spoke to obviously with the partners that we're working with, that we could kind of do it smaller groups. So split it up with the walk leaders and have different groups. So that actually may be how we'll work that if it starts to get that we get loads of numbers. But I think the way things are at the moment, and the anxiety that people experience of having to be indoors, we need to do things as much as possible outdoors, and that's kind of where TC is kind of handling how we could work groups at the moment. And I suppose that's a bit like, you know, ourselves. We had short health walks, and if anybody tuned into the very first Facebook Live session, we did that session, Sarah, from Baxter Park, and it was myself and my colleague Ria, and we were talking about the benefits of walking. So you're doing exactly what we're trying to advocate, is to get people out and about, get to the green spaces, because there's lots of green spaces within Dundee, all your parks and everything. And it's amazing the conversations you can have with people who feel more, in our experience anyway, they're more relaxed when they're outdoors. It's ticking a lot of the boxes. They're getting physically active, they're socially interacting, and it's good for their mental well-being. Definitely.
Have you had any feedback from any of your walkers about what they felt about getting out and about on a walk?
Everybody loved it last week. Like I say, we've just started that last week, so that's relatively new. We're going to run a 4-week pilot and then get feedback about whether it's working for them, the location's working for them, you know, the times are working for them, just to make sure it works for them, so we can actually tailor it to their needs. But everybody loved it. Everybody was on a high when they got back last week. It was really, really good. Even myself, you know, I kind of went and I was like, oh, the weather's not great, how are we going to get on? And do you know what, by the end of it, you know, we were all smiling, the sun was out, we were happy as Larry, and you know, so I think we'll have a good turnout again today. So the first week's always unsure, so hopefully today as well there'll be a good turnout.
I'll go back again a wee bit, because there was a lot of people in groups that you were mentioning, and I was interested when you had said something about the Kith and Kin group. Can you maybe explain to viewers what the Kith and Kin group is and who it's aimed at? So
the Kith and Kin group is based out in Whitfield, you know, the old housing office is there. I really should have I think it's the 1-to-1 or something offices. And they support carers and families. So to be really, like I say, it's not my project, so it's not what I would be able to tell you more about, but you know, if they want any information on that, they could phone TCA, and obviously we would direct them to the right numbers to get more support there. They support families in the community and carers. And you're obviously helping people with their recovery. Have you got any success stories that you can think off the top of your head about someone that you've mentored for a while and they've moved on and maybe done something? We particularly from my point of view, part of my role is to deliver the SQA training. So we do a customised award and peer mentoring and support. So a lot of our remit is actually supporting them to move on to like volunteer opportunities, employment, education, stuff like that. So by delivering this training, we kind of give them that platform for moving forward into these fields. And it's understanding their own journey as well. A lot of the time by doing the training, some of them want to go back into employment, some of them want to just understand their journey and get a bit of perspective on that. So from my point of view, one of the peer workers that I work with now, she actually was in recovery herself. She did customised award and peer mentoring and support, and she actually now works for DVVA and ourselves, and she's in a great place in her own recovery. So again, you know, it can be done, and the support is there if they want it and they want to like try these new things. It's not to say that they'll all go into the jobs, but even if it's to help them recover through their own journey and understand their own journey.
And it's good to hear, you know, those positive stories, but it's probably as well just to point out that maybe people take 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 attempts to move on sometimes, you know, because there's always can be setbacks. So maybe it's about people understanding that it's not just plain sailing all the time. There can be a lot of ups and downs with, you know, recovery.
Yeah, recovery is a roller coaster, and it's about people, you know, accepting that in themselves and accepting that it's not going to be a smooth run. Developing coping strategies. All the services at TCA, whether it be counselling services, whether it be mentoring service, it's about helping people to develop coping strategies. Again, for the carers as well, you know, coping strategies. So all the probably right through, that's one of the things, developing the skills and the coping strategies to kind of deal with the challenges that they face, whether it be substance misuse, whether it be offending behaviours, any of it. It's just about developing new coping strategies and changing patterns and moving forward. And being a bit kind to ourselves, understanding that it isn't smooth, and you know, the support is there. You know, you can use it. The support's there for you to kind of reach out and take. But primarily it comes from yourself and it comes from within. So, you know, we're there to kind of support them to kind of accept that their journey's not going to be smooth, and help them to kind of find new ways forward.
You said you were covering Angus, Perth and Dundee, is that right? So there's lots of things going on in all these areas.
Yeah, massive amount. I couldn't even tell you about them all myself because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't think there's an age group or a speciality that we don't kind of cover within our services, because like I say, there's a mass going on.
Yeah. How does someone get in touch with you, Sarah? They've watched this video and they're saying to themselves, you know, I'd like to get some guidance, some information. So what do they do? What's their next step?
They could contact the Wisher, that's the main head office, which is in Dundee. So we could post that number as well if that's helpful.
Yeah.
And obviously they could contact us and we would direct them to what was the most appropriate service for them, what they were looking for. So there was always somebody at the other end of the phone there for them to have a chat with, and find out what their needs are and what they would like support with.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know the number of hand?
Don't actually, it should be on that. It's terrible, I really should know. I should have known that. I knew you were going to ask that, Alison.
We'll get the number and you could post it up, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And we'll do that. It was just to hand the number out to people, but people can get in touch with me and I could get the number from Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. I really should. I'll get my knuckles wrapped from not knowing that one by heart.
Yeah.
I know my own number by heart, but I'm not giving you that.
No, I'll pick that one.
Because I'll get all the calls.
You might get inundated. Is there anything else you want to promote about this service and let people, you know about the things that you're doing, or do you think you've covered most things?
To be honest, from my point of view, for the mentoring service, really, it's just about kind of speaking to your worker. So if you're working with community justice at the moment, speak to your worker if it's something you feel that you need a bit of support with. If you haven't got a mentor already and you're moving on from services, you know, speak to your worker. Same with ISMs, if there's somebody out there, you know, that is moving on or is at a good place in their recovery and they're just needing that wee bit of support to kind of get out in the community and engage with things in the community and find out what's out there, we're certainly happy to hear from them. So speak to their workers and their workers can refer them into us.
Okay. And also you've talked a lot about peer support and the groups that you've got on the go. There might be somebody who doesn't feel that they want to take part in a group. Is there one-to-one support?
Yeah, we offer one-to-one support. The groups are a great facility for kind of people and you know, an asset for that, but it's not for everybody. So we do one-to-one support. Like I say, we used to do you know, if they wanted to engage in community activities but they didn't want to do it through the group, I would do it with them on a one-to-one basis. Sometimes people just need to come out and actually be out of the house, and get them out of the house is a big thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes we would meet them, just go for a coffee with them, find out what their needs are, get to know them a bit, build that relationship. Once you build that relationship, they're quite more forthcoming about their own goals and setting their goals. So you know, there's no pressure with the Oneonone. It is voluntary and it is a service that we kind of take with, you know, the pace of the person. You don't rush ahead. If they want to, you know, go for a couple of coffees to get to know you a wee bit before they trust you with what they want to do, then that's absolutely fine. You know, so they could contact us, or like you say, speak to their worker, and they would refer them into the Beyond Mental Service, and the support is there if they want it.
So it's good to know that there's support out there, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's all person centred, so it's what that person needs. Everybody's an individual. We're not the same. So not everybody likes a group. And that's how sometimes the walking group's good, because it is a bit more, you know, in the thick of a sports group where the walking group's a bit more easy pace.
Yeah.
But even that, sometimes that's like really daunting for somebody. So if that's the case, then we would be looking at, right, let's do something more one-to-one based. And again, sometimes that's emotional support, you know, letting them talk about what's going on for them. About practical support, it might be the need a bit of support with budgeting, things like that. So it's whatever the individual needs, so it's very person-centred.
So when you were talking there just about budgeting, so are you able to link people up with other agencies, you know, because you're obviously helping a lot with people's recovery, but you know, there's practical things to think about as well. There's rent, you know, maybe someone's got a problem with paying their rent, and there could be, you know, debt involved, so you've got contact with what's other agencies to help that person.
Absolutely. Signposting's a big part of our job. So obviously, you know, we've got good links with other agencies in the community, and sometimes people just need a wee bit of guidance about what's out there and what you know, how to find these things. So by working with us, sometimes we'll just go, okay, it's debt that we've got, you know, maybe get a bit of advice through that. If it's substance misuse, it may be that, you know, what do they need out of that? So we signpost to the most appropriate service, because we're not specialists in everything. It's just you know your own field, and then obviously you make sure that the best people are out there for them.
Yeah, it's good to know that, you know, you're linking in with other agencies, because once you tie everything up, because if someone's on a journey and trying to get their recovery, I think that the pressures of other things, you know, can inhibit that. So it's good to know that you're there to try and, you know, cover everything, even though you're not dealing with it yourself.
Definitely.
Signpost and get others involved.
And the thing is, even if it's a matter that they don't want to be signposted to anyone else, sometimes just having someone to come along and support them to sort out debt, or, you know, let's look at your debt, let's unpick what you've got going on, because I know from some of my women, they don't even open their mail after a wee while because it's just all debt. So they miss important mail, such as medical appointments, things like that, but they also miss all the debt, and it builds up and it becomes a mountain. So a lot of the time what we do is we'll say, right, okay, let's unpick that, let's look at all that, let's open your mail with you and support you to do that, and can you say, right, that's debt, that's junk mail, that's, you know, and then it becomes less of a mountain. Yeah,
and that's a good way to describe it, because it can be quite overwhelming sometimes for people to deal with everything that's going on. And talking about the walking groups again, Sarah, it was what I found at the walking groups, you might as well, some people have come along and they've been keen to speak and talk and everything, but by the same token, it's also a safe space for people to be quiet and just walk if they want. They might just want to listen, so it's an opportunity to do that as well.
Absolutely. Like you say, they don't have to be in the thick of things, they don't have to be having a good chat. And what you find is some weeks, you know, they may be not feeling like that. They want to just be outdoors. So the fact they're coming to that's great, that's an achievement in itself. So let them be quiet if they want to. And the group's really good in the sense that they're quite understanding, they're all at a good place themselves, they'll kind of give that space if it's needed, and then encouragement when it's needed as well, just to kind of get involved if they want to. There's no pressure.
And the good thing about walking again is that it's something that people can do on their own, or with a friend, or go along to a group. And it doesn't cost anything, you know, so that's another big plus, you know, for people going along with some of the support groups, that, you know, cost can be an issue.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, even without it being a walking group as such, giving the groups and the options of groups gives a bit of structure, because a lot of the time if people have no structure in their life, that's when the days become quite long, you know, the struggle. So from my point of view, from the feedback I'm getting from the women, they're saying, giving me a bit of structure and having this group on the Tuesday, this group on the Thursday, we're one-to-one with you and maybe on the Friday. It's giving them a bit of structure to their week, which helps in their recovery, because it stops them going, I'm really bored, and then falling back in old patterns.
So having things to do is the key.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of what we kind of do in my role, is we kind of support people to fill their time with positive things, and find new connections in the community, make new friends.
That's great. It sounds really like we could talk all day about loads of things that's going on.
It's the best job in the world, I love it.
Oh, well, Sarah, it's coming across in all your enthusiasm when you're talking about it, so it's great to hear. So thanks very much, Sarah, for coming along today and telling us all about TCA. I've really enjoyed hearing all about it. If you want to know any more, we'll get you that number.
We'll get you that number, sorry.
Dearie me.
I'll get my knuckles wrapped.
But thanks everybody for tuning in today, and hopefully you've enjoyed today's session. As we say, we'll get the number for you for TCA, And any questions at all, you can post it on the Facebook Live session. Also, big thanks to Robin again for doing the camera work. He's been great. He also came in early to do a wee session for me when I was dressed as Mrs. Claus. So thank you very much for that, Robin, too. So thank you, everyone, and hopefully see you all again next week, same time, same place. Bye for now.